Hello dear tea friends from around the world. Welcome to a new tea class with me, Stéphane Erler, the founder of the Tea Masters blog, the Tea Masters boutique and a tea student for 20 years. Today we are starting a series of classes for this fall season about Oolong, and I'm going to try to answer all your questions, solve all your problems you have about this tea, Jinxuan. There are three reasons why I chose this tea to start our series of classes. The first reason is this is a tea that is very popular on my website. So many people have purchased it. Besides, already for a while, this is a tea I've been giving away to people who purchase for over 120 US dollars of tea on my website. So many people have gotten it already and are ready to try it on during this class. It's a tea that is easy to brew, and a reason why it's so popular, number three, is that it is very high quality and very affordable. Right now it's on sale at just 21.25 US dollar for 150 grams. So these are all very good reasons why Jinxuan is a very popular tea nowadays. Now, what is Jinxuan? It sounds very poetic, but is it a tea? Is it a type of tea? Actually, it is a cultivar. Jinxuan is a type of tea tree that produces Jinxuan leaves. So you cannot make Jinxuan tea with a Qingxing Oolong or with Assam. No, to make Jinxuan, you need a Jinxuan tree. So Jinxuan actually is a cultivar, but with this cultivar you can make all kinds of teas. You can make green tea, you can make red tea, you can make oolong, you can make baozong. So Jinxuan actually describes the name of the cultivar, not the tea you are brewing. It could be really anything. Let's look at history. Where does Jinxuan come from? When does it start? Actually, it all starts in Taiwan in 1981. It was invented by Dr. Wu Zhenduo at the Taiwan Research and Extension Station, which is kind of the research center for tea in Taiwan. So in 1981 he created Jinxuan Oolong. Let me pour some out. And how did he do it? Actually, the way that you would produce a new type of tea is by combining two existing types, and the two types that he combined are Yingzhi, which means hard stem, red heart. And this is a cultivar that we have had on my selection a few years ago in the Wenshan Baozong section. So maybe some of you still have some of this tea. This is so an existing cultivar, and it was mixed. It was actually bred. It was crossed together with Taiwan number 8. Which is another tea that was invented by the Taiwan Research and Extension Station, but in 1973, earlier. And this one is based on, it's a kind of Assam, so an Assam more for red tea. So basically, Jinxuan is this cross of Yingzhi, hard stem, red heart, together with Taiwan number 8, an Assam cultivar. What else is there to say? So why was it named Jinxuan? Actually, the name Jinxuan is the name of Dr. Wu Zhenduo's grandmother. A very poetic name, and so as an homage to his grandmother, he named it Jinxuan. And around that time, he also created another tea called Cui. Cui is actually the name of his mother. So he has a lot of filial piety. This Dr. Wu Zhenduo really cherished his mother and grandmother, and gave them their name to the teas that he created. A very good son and grandson. Why did he invent Jinxuan in the first place? Why did he feel that there is a need for a new type of tea called Jinxuan? The reason he had in mind was to make tea more affordable and help farmers to get better yields. And indeed, the leaves of Cui are actually quite big. Well, here they are in oolong ball-shaped form. So, but you can see that this pellet is quite large. The oolong leaves will be quite large already when they are dry, but even larger when they are opened up. We'll see later on. And so this helped to make this type of tea more popular, because thanks to higher yields, the prices are lower, and this is what you can see on my website. And therefore it become a very popular tea, and it is a tea that is very well suited for the lightly oxidized oolongs that have become popular in the especially 80s and 90s. Okay, I've got everything here. Now, Jinxuan is also very well known for having milk scent, to the point that some call it even milky oolong. And I must say that when the tea trees were very young in the 80s, full of energy, there was a bit of this milky scent to Jinxuan in the very early years, maybe in a new plantation. But as the trees grow more mature, and they are harvested quite often, in Taiwan you can harvest them 3-4 times a year. So in this process they lose a bit this milk scent, and therefore if you find if your Jinxuan that you are purchasing elsewhere is very heavily milk scented, in 99.9% of the cases this is due to artificial flavoring. There is this artificial flavor that reminds me more of fudge than of milk, but it is artificial flavor. And I have a good friend, another tea retailer. He said to me, well, he has to put this artificial flavor because people are so used to it that when he puts less, people are asking for more and say, oh no, this time the quality was not so good because it did not have this artificial, it did not have this milky flavor. Please find one that has more milky flavor. He tried to explain that actually this is artificial flavors, but then people were not happy about it, so he simply gives them what they wanted, lots of artificial flavors. But this is not what I'm doing. I'm only I do have some scented oolongs, scented baozhongs on my selection, but they are scented with real flowers, not with artificial flavors. So my Jinxuan won't have so much of milky flavor. Actually, I feel it as much a very light, flowery flavor, so to speak, and that is really very refined, very elegant. It is much more elegant than the Sujichun, which is much more in-your-face kind of a flowery flavor. Jinxuan is much more refined, I think, in this regard. Let's talk a bit about taste also. The taste of Jinxuan is quite light. It lacks a bit of bitterness and maybe of aftertaste, but if you are a beginner and not so sure about brewing, or if you want to make a tea without paying too much attention to it, or if you are afraid of making it wrong, this is actually is not a drawback. It's not a bug, it's a feature. So it can also be a good thing that it is light in taste, because it's more difficult to get bitter notes unless really you put too many leaves, and then of course it's going to be a bit stronger. Okay, where do we find Jinxuan? We find Jinxuan, as I said already earlier, in the Baozhong area in Wenshan in the north of Taiwan, and then turn into Baozhong, so striped leaves, much longer but and not shaped like this. You find also Jinxuan a lot in Nantou County. Nantou County, that's in central Taiwan. That's where you have Mingjian Songboling, where you have really the largest farms of low elevation in Taiwan. Then you find also Jinxuan in Lugu, the Dongding area, and you will find it in a bit in Meishan and Alishan, just above 1,000 meters, maybe 1,000, 1,200, 1,300 meters maximum. This is the maximum it can take in terms of elevation. You will not find it in elevations like Shanlinshi, or maybe lower ones, or especially not in Lishan, Daoling. This is a place where you only have Qingxing Oolong. And of course you can also find Jinxuan in other countries like Vietnam or Thailand, and lots of these Jinxuan find their way back to Taiwan, because actually the farmers who produce them in Thailand and in Vietnam are very often times coming from Taiwan, and therefore they re-export this Jinxuan, this cheaper Jinxuan, thanks to the cheaper labor in Taiwan, and it's rarely sold as an imported Jinxuan. Most of the time this is how some merchants are able to reduce their cost and their price, or increase their profits, as you want, by selling cheaper Jinxuan, which will have a bit of a different taste, because it is the weather, the climate and the soil, of course, are different in Thailand and Vietnam than in Taiwan. Taiwan, of course, we think has the perfect weather. In Vietnam and Thailand, it's a bit similar, maybe a bit warmer than Taiwan, especially when compared to high altitude Jinxuan like this one. You have also all types of qualities in Jinxuan. You have the lower elevation Jinxuan. You have the machine harvested Jinxuan, versus here this Jinxuan is hand picked, because in the mountains the soil is in plateaus, in terrace, so it's much more difficult to access and more difficult to use a machine over there. Much easier to go by hand, and by harvesting by hand you minimize the breakings of the leaves by really only breaking the twig, and this helps to make the taste of the tea sweeter, than less astringent than a machine harvested leaf. So this Jinxuan is really as good as it gets in terms of Jinxuan, because this one is not machine harvested, it's really hand harvested. It's not coming from lower elevation, but coming from a higher elevation, from higher altitude, over 1000 meters, in the Alishan region, which is really one of the most famous tea mountains in Taiwan. And anyway, you would not find it in Alishan, so it's as good as it gets in terms of location for Jinxuan. And it is spring Jinxuan, which spring is always a very good season for making tea, because the tea trees had a longer period of rest between the after their previous harvests in winter, which then happens sometimes around October, November, and spring in March is then really 5 months of rest. End of March, the trees had more time to rest, and they have lots of sunshine. And this bursting of energy that comes at spring really is adding to the flavors, to the aromas of these leaves. And I would say one more thing why this Jinxuan Alishan in particular is more special. It's because it has been selected by me, of course, but especially it has been selected because we have often made this experience that what is fascinating about Oolongs is that if you pick them on the 29th of March, the 30th, the 31st, then in April 1st, April 2nd, April 3rd, and the harvests very often take 1 or 2 weeks in the tea areas. And during this period of harvest, the weather changes every day. The leaves are more or less grown depending on their elevation, or on how the mountain is facing the sun, depending on the plantation. So this is what makes this Jinxuan a little bit actually better than your average Alishan Jinxuan, is that I've selected it. So this is my advantage of not being a farmer. I don't have to I can really select the one I prefer, and this is one of the superior quality Jinxuan Alishan Oolong that I found last year in the Alishan region. So let's go and also see how to brew it. We'll start by preheating our gaiwan. Getting the water to a boil, so I'm putting it on my induction heater. During this moment, it's a good time to look at the leaves, to smell them. Have a look. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, leave me a comment if you have any questions that remain, and I'll try to answer them. And of course, stick around until the end of the video. And the online class on Facebook is live, so you can ask me questions live. But if you are watching it on YouTube, then it won't be live, and it will be replay. Then you can still ask questions, but I will not be able to answer them right away. Okay. How many leaves of Jinxuan? Well, here we have several possibilities. The testing, if you want to test your tea, don't use too many leaves. You can test with 3 grams 6 minutes. And if you are in a normal brewing mode, simply try to fill the bottom of your gaiwan. If you feel you need, if you're a bit more rushed, you want it faster, you can add a bit more, because then it will, the flavors will come out faster. But I want to go in a relaxed way, so I only put half of what I had on my little plate here. Just enough to fill the bottom of my gaiwan with 1 layer of leaves. It's really important that the water be boiling, and we are going to do a David Bowie song, Let's Dance, by making the leaves swirl by pouring on the side, and then it will create a swirl. Okay, here you see the leaves are beautifully dancing. You can help them to turn a little bit more. Closing now the gaiwan, making the seal, so the water needs to be high enough that it's possible to make this seal. It's really a lot of water. I hope that the leaves are going to absorb some of it, so that I will not burn my fingers. Okay, let's... If you're very thirsty, actually, instead of throwing the water away in your wastewater bowl, you can also drink some of the water. It's always a good thing to do, especially now. Today's our first lesson in this semester. Pay attention to the quality of water. So trying some of your water that comes from your gaiwan, even without any tea, is a way for you to get a better understanding of the quality of the water. If you feel your water does not taste very good now, well, this is not going to help your tea. You should already have a water that is smooth, slightly sweet. It might have a little bit of texture and aftertaste. Now, since I'm using a tetsubin, it has a little bit more of metallic, slight metallic taste, but it's not overpowering, and it brings a little bit of sweetness. But if you notice really that there are some off flavors in your water now, try to change the water or change your kettle, because the taste that is bad now in the water will also be there in the tea, and this is actually often the reason why a tea does not taste good. It's not because of the leaves, it's not because of the brew, but it's because of the water. Excellent smells. And let's pour. Go back and forth in order to make the concentration of the tea more similar in each cup. You saw I missed a little bit on the first. The first is the most difficult always. And here we go. Now, really important, the leaves have opened up quite well. Actually, could have been a little bit more on this side, but the color is already like it should be, very pale green, with a very good transparency and shine. It has this light, flowery, spring, nature scent. And much more sweetness now than the water just had. So even the taste is quite good. Not well, nothing as powerful as a poor or high mountain oolong made from Qingxing, but it does have already the high mountain qualities of freshness, of really lightness, and a subtle energy. Really, I love it. And at this price point, really very difficult to resist. Also great really for the value, especially now in these times of financial trouble. This is really a tea that will help you make savings if you need to save, but don't want to say no to tea because it's so good and you cannot live without. This is really a great tea to turn to. Really love it. Okay. I think I've answered all your questions. I hope I solved all your problems on how to make Jinxuan Oolong. Of course, we can make more of it. We can make a second and even a third brew of Jinxuan. These leaves are so powerful that you can brew them several times. And definitely you should open the leaves up well. So let me do a second brew to demonstrate how I would do it. Brought my water to a boil again, and this time I don't need to pour with so much power. Because the leaves were already quite open, I pour directly on the leaves because they are oolong. They can't stand the heat. What you try to do is to make the leaves that are stuck below come upwards and give them more space to open up and release their flavors in the same manner, at the same speed, at the same rate as the leaves that are on top that have lots of place to open up. So this is what I did with the help of my Gaiwan's lid. It's actually much easier to brew in an Yixing teapot. Therefore, to study this tea, I prefer to use the Gaiwan, and the porcelain is such a neutral material that it won't affect the taste of tea so much as an Yixing porcelain, and therefore you get really only the flavors of the tea and not the flavors of your teapot. So if there are some defects, you will know they come from the leaves. And also, if it tastes really smooth and sweet, it's really thanks to the leaves, not thanks to the effect of the teapot. Okay. Now you can see the leaves have really opened up now perfectly. already, and same color as on the first brew. This, and it really is the freshness of this color is enhanced by the Celadon cup that I've chosen. So when you brew this kind of high mountain Jinxuan, I recommend more Celadon porcelain than ivory colored. And yeah, same smoothness, maybe a little bit more mouthfeel now, but still nowhere to feel any kind of bitterness. This is still only pure sweetness, so it's really very easy to brew. And yeah, preheat well, use some power the first time, open up the leaves, and then pour, and it's ready. Thank you very much for watching, and I see you next week. We are going to talk about this time Qingxing Oolong from Alishan. Thank you. Bye bye.